In 1959, black patrons dressed in their finest hats and clothes, as if attending church, visited the East Side Theater on Broad Street, Savannah. The occasion? A showing of Douglas Sirk's Imitation of Life. The 1959 film follows Laura, a white woman, and Annie, a black woman, as they struggle to raise their rebellious daughters. Laura, played by Lana Turner, is a widowed mother with dreams of becoming an actress. She can't seem to balance time for auditioning and time for her young daughter, Susie. In comes Annie, played by Juanita Moore, a black woman, also looking for employment to support her own daughter, white-skinned Sarah Jane. Both women reach an agreement. Laura would pursue her career, while Annie would care for their home and ultimately their daughters.
Annie, if you have no other plans, will you stay with Susie until I come back?
Why, certainly.
In Lucy Fischer's essay, Three-Way Mirror, she details two subjects that stood out to me the most: the question of women and work and the issue of race. In the 1950s, the period this film takes place, American society was all about family, marriage, and children. The Hollywood of the time had women's films, a genre geared towards women, about women. A subgenre of women's films was the rise to power films, where the woman who rose was bound to be unhappy. Her worldly success would mean her failure as a wife or mother. In Imitation, Laura symbolizes male ambition, and at first, her professional orientation is justified and contained.
My husband was in the theater, too. A director. A good director. Everything I know I owe to him. It was a small town and little theater, but professional. But when he died, I had to make a living doing something else. I never really wanted anything but the stage. Oh, except Susie.
When she earns enough to retire, they posture her as she has no more reason to work. Laura is also punished for her ambition later on in the form of her daughter, Susie, who reprimands her.
Now, just a moment, young lady. It's only because of my ambition that you've had the best of everything. And that's a solid achievement that any mother can be proud of.
And how about a mother's love?
Love? But you've always had that.
Yes, by telephone, by postcard, by magazine interviews. You've given me everything but yourself.
In this manner, women's films are a genre that falsely claims to have a feminine point of view, but as Linda Williams states, they hold a patriarchal ideology that you can't have career goals and be a good mother at the same time. Annie Johnson, on the other hand, doesn't have the luxury to ponder employment. Her color and her poverty dictate her fate. For white women, work is an alternative. For black women, it is compulsory. In a sense, Annie lacks personal ambition, but unlike Laura, had stoical devotion to her daughter.
There must be plenty of jobs for a woman like you.
But people just won't take in a woman with a child. And no matter what, I won't be separated from my baby.
In a lot of ways, Annie represents Laura's opposite, a good mother to Laura's bad, a nurturing woman opposed to Laura's egotistical. However, Annie's parental devotion is mistranslated as being overbearing. Her daughter, Sarah Jane, rejects both her mother's color and her role as maid.
I don't want to live in the back. Why do we always have to live in the back?
Shh, honey.
The film takes place during the civil rights movement, but makes major strides to never address it directly. It is, however, represented in the form of Sarah Jane. When her mother looks for her at school, we are reminded of Brown versus Board of Education, a landmark Supreme Court case that dictated racial segregation of children in public schools unconstitutional. Later on, her boyfriend Frankie's physical attack and violence legitimizes Sarah Jane's fear and rejection of the society she's in.
Is your mother a nigger?
In a twisted way, Sarah Jane recognizes the forces in society that act to oppress her and relegate her and her mother to subordinate positions. The film, however, shies away from putting two black women at conflict with a racist society. Instead, mother and daughter are each other's antagonists, suppressing the film's real conflict between white mistress and her black servant. The film relieves itself by expressing the issue of race as familiar rather than social.
How do you explain to your child she was born to be hurt?
In the end, Annie dies of heartbreak, not because of the physical hardships that fell upon her as a domestic worker. Imitation of Life went on to become the #1 film at the box office for 2 weeks and was Universal Pictures' highest-grossing film in 1959. Both Juanita Moore and Susan Kohner received nominations for Best Supporting Actress at the Academy Awards. In the years that followed, critics and film historians alike still discuss Imitation of Life as an intricate intersection of race, class, and gender that still resonate to this day.
With my love.